Hey, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living. And part of our shop tour we're doing today, I want to talk to you about my dent station. So I've got, so for the tools I use for dent work, I've got a vise on a really nice vise stand, and that is mounted to the floor in a way that I talk about in the introduction. But basically, that's a really thick steel plate. The vise is mounted to the plate, and the plate is through bolted to the frame and also into the floor. So it's super duper sturdy, and it's an adjustable vise stand. This is from Vise, and spring loaded. I apologize. This is one of the broken wrist sessions, so I don't want to get an uppercut from it. There we go. This moves around any way you need it to, right? Um, which is really handy for my dent work space, right? Back here in the back of the Airstream, I stand there on either side depending on what I'm working on, and almost always have the work come out this way. Sometimes I'll have it sideways. I also do my polishing here. You can see here is most of my dent balls. Let's see if I can get down. Probably doesn't matter that we're sideways here. You can see I've got most of the sets that Vise and Allied sell. The ones that aren't on there are probably mounted onto dent tools already. I also have a drawer of miscellaneous dent balls. This is the one tool that I have from Vise, and I've got like the slotted balls. I don't use those very much. Got one of the barrels that wouldn't fit. Got my neck tool, and this thing, I think this is actually like something off of like a dial indicator for machine work. I very rarely use this, but like sometimes, let's see if we can see I've done it. Yeah, I like ground out a little bit there, and I've used that like around like the edges of stuff. I'm trying to think, what did I use this for last? Like getting up under something. I think it was like right next to a tone hole or something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but it was just something that I found and modified for a particular use. I've done the same thing with like just like a brass rod. Like one time, like I bent the end of it. It's hard to see, it's like barely there, but like bent the end of it just a little bit to like push on something particular. One time I like used like a wall hanger for something in a neck, just to do something I needed to do like in the moment. And over here we can see I've also got like the full body mandrel, which like I rarely use, but if you need it, you need it. And then that wooden table leg for polishing sopranos. And I've got the magnetic dent ball set, which is handy for like when the bow of an instrument has been like kind of messed up, but it doesn't actually do, it's not like magical, it's just helpful. So let's see, I'll set this here, then I can go through the different dent stuff I've got. So this one is a roller, a smooth roller. I use that sometimes on bell lip dent work. Same thing with, this is actually a part of the dent machine, so-called, that Vise sells. I just mount it in here and use it for dent work on bells. This is a flute head joint mandrel. It's tapered slightly. Sometimes I use this for dent work like up near the octave pip, coming in from the neck side on the top of an instrument, like on a tenor or alto, coming in from the neck tenon receiver in towards the octave pip. Real short stuff. This one is a double-ended rod for usually like on the back side of necks, like coming in from the tenon and going up towards like the octave saddle. Small straight rod here, and you'll notice that the threads are different sizes, right? So, this will go into one particular dent ball set. This one is actually got the dent balls permanently brazed on either side. I actually use this a ton. This is probably what I use for like bow dent work most of the time. So that's kind of something I use an awful lot. This one, it's straight on one side with a taper and then curved on the other. I don't use that very much, actually. I think that's supposed to be like for bow dent work. And everyone does their dent work differently, so there might be someone who uses this a ton, just I don't. This one's a straight dent rod. and I've got this mounted on it because a lot of times this will go all the way through, like, you know, like from the bell side all the way down. And this is just like some paper towels that I like taped on there to keep the dent rod from scratching like the inside of the bell or something like that. But I use this a ton for body dents. I usually put like a slotted dent ball on here, and then this is, you'll notice this is a little thicker than this one. This is what I use for body dents most of the time. Here's a thinner one that does the same thing. You can see I've got an alto slotted dent ball on it. Sometimes this will not go past the body pip on the inside of the instrument for altos, so I'll have to use a thinner one. But this bends a little bit over long distances, like if I'm trying to do a dent down near like the low E or D tone hole. So if I can, I always use the more sturdy one, but if I have to, I use this one. This is a polishing mandrel from Votaw, super handy. This piece comes off, and then you put this through the body, and you cinch this, like this one can slide and then get locked on the inside of the body, and this goes in the neck tenon. You just got to be careful you don't like push it in so hard that it mushrooms the tenon out, but then you can mount it in your vise and rag your horn there. So I use this a lot, and you can see there's just a whole bunch of polish on it. This is a tapered like trumpet mandrel or trombone mandrel. I don't use this too much, but sometimes like for a sopranino or a C soprano or like some like weird thing, I might like wrap some stuff around it and use it as like a mount it for polishing. Sometimes I'll use the very edge to like get into like weird dents like up near the top of an instrument, and I'll use that actually as like my pushing surface. But like I don't actually know why I have this one, but I do use it sometimes. But I think this is something like, if I didn't have it, I would have found another tool to do the job. So I don't think it's like essential. This is a flute body mandrel. Similar stuff with the head joint mandrel and this guy. Like sometimes I use it, but you know, I probably don't need it. Here's like my smallest dent rod, and you can see it's kind of like bent. I wish it was stronger. Sometimes on like the end of a soprano, like going in through the neck hole, or more commonly an alto, going in through the cork side of the neck to try and get some dents out. This is the only one that'll fit, but it's not very strong, so I don't like it. I keep thinking one day I'll upgrade or try and find another one. This I use a ton. This is like for neck dents. This is like supposed to go inside the cork end of like a tenor mouthpiece and get like up to around, maybe like around the octave pit. But you can probably see, maybe you can see that let me get on the other side so I can tell if it's focusing. Like you can see it's all chewed up because I've actually bent it several times because neck profiles are different. This looks like it's probably set for like a Selmer right now. But the Cons and SMLs have a very different profile. Super 20s have their own profile. So I'm eventually probably just going to snap this. And what I want to do instead, I think, is I want to get like 3 or 4 of these. And also, I've bent it here too, for similar reasons. This goes in the tenon side around the back of a tenor neck, and they all have different profiles, right? So I'd like to get 3 or 4 of these, bend these so they're perfect. Like one of them would be for Selmers, one for Cons, and parts of SMLs, one for Kings and parts of SMLs. Like they would be, like if I had a few of these, that would be a lot better than just having one, but I've made do with one so far. Just one of those things I haven't gotten around to. And then this thing, it's like, I actually don't really use this. It's like my least favorite one. It's got brass like ends permanently brazed on or soft soldered on probably. And I just have a hard time locating my work. Brass doesn't stick to magnets, so I can't use a magnet to locate it. Like it doesn't seem to like operate by the same principles as like something more spherical. So I don't really use that very much. As far as the Vise, this is like a, it's a Wilton, but it's not like one of the made in America Wiltons, I don't think. This is like 120 bucks. I did have a Vise that was like more of like the $40 to $50 range, and I actually broke that over time. This one was like maybe 120, 140, something like that. And I've had this for years and it works fine. I was a little worried because it only has 2 bolts that this is like bolted through. This has a 4-bolt pattern that it comes with, I think, the plate when you buy this stand from Votaw, which this stand costs a ton. I think it's like $800 or $1,000 or something. It's like kind of crazy, but especially for this workspace, totally worth it. Couldn't do it otherwise. So this was something super essential. So I didn't have like $600 to spend on like a super high-end Vise. So I got this. I was a little worried about the 2-bolt pattern, but it's been fine. So, and you know, sometimes like, especially on like baritone or bass or something like that, I'm putting enough pressure on like a really long dent rod that there is an awful lot of force twisting this thing. And I've been worried before because, you know, got something like all the way out at the end of this, right? And I'm putting like my full weight on it, like lifting my feet off the ground, which is going to be something I'm worried about with my wrist, because I should be able to do most of my job in about 6 more weeks, but I don't know about putting that much pressure on it for dent work. So I don't know, maybe I'll just get like super jacked in my right hand. We'll see. Not exactly a muscular guy to start with, so I'll have to figure that out. But I would say definitely for a Vise, like, it's worth spending a bit of money. Don't get the cheapest one. Get like at least the step up, like probably like $100 or more. I know there's people that have like $500 like super awesome Wilton Vices. That sounds cool, but it just hasn't been something I've done with. And I've got these aluminum V-block jaws. I've got 2 because sometimes like I want to actually like put 2 of them in, and then I can mount something vertically, right? Much better than I can. It's going to be a lot stronger of a hold than just in the jaws, and I won't chew it up so bad. But typically, like for dent work coming out this way, I just use 1. That seems to have a better grip actually than using 2. There are different types of V blocks, but those are the ones I use. They've got like a little magnet to hold them on. Let's see. And yeah, that's where I do all of it. Now I know there's a lot more dent stuff you can get. One of the things I've thought about getting is called the Dent machine from Vise. You can look it up. And it seems like for certain types of jobs, like that is really going to be the best result. But between what you see there, sometimes I do work that requires like hollow tapping or actually driving dent balls through tubes to round them out. These are actually my only 2 dent hammers. This one and this one. And they've lasted me my entire career. And this is my graduated dent ball set. I rarely use it, but when you need it, you need it. If you've got like a deformed, like completely crushed neck or something, this is what you're going to use. I actually use that on this soprano here, which you probably can't tell, but that was pretty messed up there. Someone had done a really bad job with a bend and crush near the palm key tone holes. And I'll bring it up a little closer. And you can't tell because it got straightened back out. Now, you might notice some sloppy solder joints on here because a lot of stuff had to come off. I put it back on, then I broke my wrist before I could clean them up. So, but I made extensive use of my graduated dent ball set with dent hammers to get all that straightened out and smooth. But it seems like that's something also that might be good to have a dent machine for, because I think a dent machine can do that. And I'll put a link to what that is down below. But yeah, so that is my dent setup. And that has gotten me pretty far. And I don't really very often feel like I'm missing anything. I think I mentioned everything that I've got in mind to eventually purchase, and it's not much. And I know that you can spend a lot on dent tools, but it hasn't been something that maybe just working on saxophones has a lot to do with it. I know brass guys, I mean, you just need so many different things, but just working on saxophones, that's done it for me. And out of what you see there, probably a third of the tools are what I do 80% of my work on. And the rest of it is stuff like when you need it, you need it. But I don't really run into anything where like I don't have what I need. The only thing I don't love about my setup right now is, like I said, I wish I had like several of these. And that's probably the next thing I'll do as far as like a decent tool investment. I'll probably get 3 or 4 of those and spend an afternoon bending them into shape. But that's about it. Hope you found this helpful, useful, informative. My name is Matt Stoll. I repair saxophones for a living. Thanks for watching.